are going to discuss a famous sonnet by William Shakespeare. We are having a sonnet of William Shakespeare, Shall I Thee Compare? Before going to the sonnet, first of all, let's analyze the sonnet. What is there in the sonnet? As that I told you, it is a sonnet, so obviously first of all we will give lines to it. It has 14 lines. Second thing, to understand this piece of poetry, which William Shakespeare's sonnet, first thing we got to know is that we have 14 lines in this sonnet. Second thing, we'll talk about the rhyming scheme of this sonnet. Let's go with the first two lines. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day, thou art more lovely and more temperate. As such, we can see from these two lines, the last here and this one, they have different rhymes. So here we can place a rhyming scheme to be identified by A and here by B. Coming to next two lines, rough winds to shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Here again the day is rhyming with May, so it will be A, and temperate is rhyming with date, so this will be B. For these four lines we have A, B as the rhyming scheme. Coming to the next quadrant, sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. Again here we have different rhyme for these two lines, so we will place different symbols for these two. Coming next to line number 7 and 8, and every fair from fair sometimes decline, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Here the shines is somehow rhyming with decline, so we will place the symbol C here, and by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. This untrimmed is rhyming with dimmed, so it is D. So for this quadrant we have C, D, C, D as the rhyming scheme. Coming to the next portion is, but thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. That means here again the rhyming scheme has changed. Let's place alphabet E for this and alphabet F for this. Going to the next two, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou groused. Here we can see the fade is rhyming with shade, so it will be placed E here, and the oust is going with groused, so we'll be placing F. So for these four lines we have a rhyming scheme of E, F, E, F. The last two, as such we have seen by analyzing the rhyming scheme, what we had a four line quadrant, then again a 4-line quadrant, and last is a 2-line couplet. In this 2-line couplet we have a rhyming scheme of C and D. That means both are different. So we can place this alphabetical symbol for this rhyming scheme. So this is the rhyming scheme first of all for this sonnet of Shakespeare, where he has placed A, B, C, D, E, F and G for the couplet in the end. Okay, now this was all about the rhyming scheme. Talking about the meter over here, this poem is comprising of iambic pentameter. Why I am saying iambic? Because pentameter, why? Because if we will break this in syllables, it will be divided into 5 parts. Iambic means stressed and unstressed. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So there are certain syllables. Shall I. Shall is stressed, then I unstressed. Again, compare thee. Compare thee. That means stressed, unstressed. To a sum. To a sum. Sum means this much of portion. That means stressed, unstressed. March day. That means stressed and unstressed. So therefore it is a iambic pentameter. That Shakespeare is popular for using it. So it was just a general analysis of the whole poem, the sonnet. Here we had 14 lines, we have a rhyming scheme I just explained, and we are having an iambic pentameter, we are having 4 quadrant, and in the end we have a couplet, 2-line couplet. Now let's try to find out what the poet is trying to explore in this sonnet. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day, thou art more lovely and more temperate? First of all, the poet is just trying to put a question. It is a rhetorical question in the beginning. Shall I compare the summer's day? He is putting a question. Should I compare this summer day with thee? Thee is somebody. Either he is addressing to his beloved or someone else. We'll explore in the coming lines. So he's asking, shall I compare that specific person with a summer day? He's just putting a question. It's a rhetorical question. That means he's neither accepting in positive and nor he's declining it. And immediately he says, thou art more lovely and more temperate. And in the second line, he is just putting the answer to the immediate question and saying, no, I cannot compare. Why? Because thou art more lovely and more temperate. Because that person's comparison cannot be made with that summer's day. That person is more beautiful, more lovely, more temperate. That means the person is going to be there forever. His beauty is going to be there forever. Now coming to the next line, he says, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. Now suddenly in the first 2 lines he was putting a question whether he should compare his beloved with someone with summer's day or not, and in the third line he is just focusing on the features of summer. Rough winds to shake the darling buds of May. Now he is telling us that in summers what happens, there is a lot of rough wind, and that rough wind, it shakes the darling buds of May. That means the buds that are supposed to grow in the season, they are being shaken by the rough winds of summer. So in his sense, summer is not that nice or that good, which has to be there forever. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Now in this line, what the poet is trying to mention is that summer's lease, the word lease as such we often use, lease is used for a word. Just have an example with, if I am buying something and I am buying by taking some loan, or I am buying it with the help of some bank money, so I will be getting that thing on lease. That is temporary with me. It will be taken back if I am not going to pay for it. So here he is comparing summer situation. It is on lease, that it is there for certain duration of time, and it is again very short, and the moment the season is going to change, the summer is going to fade out. So he is saying that rough winds are shaking the buds of May, and the summer whose features he is mentioning, it is a temporary affair. It's not going to be there forever. Then sometimes too hot the eye of heaven's shine, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. Now in these lines, what the poet is trying to say, sometimes too hot the eye of heaven. Now here the eye of heaven is for sun, because sun is shining too bright in summers. So he is mentioning that sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And when there is a pleasant weather in summers, due to the clouds, the shine of sun, it is reduced. But when there is a clear sky, a sunny weather, then there won't be any kind of a thing in which the sun's shine is lowered. So he is putting an emphasis that during summers there is a lot of sun shining, there is a lot of heat due to sun, and often is this gold complexion dimmed. That gold complexion of sun is dimmed by the clouds. And every fair from fair sometimes declines. Now what he is trying to say, because of that shining sun, anything that is very fair can get that they get darkness in his fairness. Because of that shine, that heat of sun, that fair thing can fade out. So anything on this earth which is although very fair, it's going to decline, it's going to lose its fairness due to the more shine of sun. By chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Now he is saying either by chance or by nature's changing course untrimmed. Untrimmed, there are two meanings. First of all, untrimmed is for that thing which cannot be change. The beauty of that specific thing is not going to be deteriorate. And second reference is untrimmed for a ship which is sailing across river. Its shore is very near, and how it's going to be trimmed. Now here he say, every fair and fair sometimes decline, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. So by these lines the poet is trying to emphasize on the fact that nothing on this earth is going to stay forever. Everything has to be ended either now or later, but there is an end for everything. So he is just trying to make it clear with these lines. But thy eternal summer shall not fade. Now there is a contradiction. Here the poet was mentioning in the fourth line that the summer's lease had too short a date. But here in this line what poet is trying to put here, that the summer is eternal. So there is a contradiction between the two lines, the line number 4 and the line number 9. Now what kind of a contradiction? Here the summer is very short, now here he is saying summer is eternal. So the basic meaning is that summer is very short for a specific year or a specific season, but it is a universal truth. Every year summer is there. Every year there is a cycle of changing seasons. So we cannot say summer is going to end forever. It's going to come back. It is going to retaliate back after a complete cycle, after completing the cycle of seasons. So in that way he's saying, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. That eternal summer, that means every other year there is a summer, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Now he is saying that summer is not going to end, and the possession of that fair thou owest, that heaven's eye, that is sun, its shine, it's still going to be there. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. Now here what he is mentioning, he is telling that there is another reality, that is death. Brag thou wanderest in his shade. In his shade means somehow trying to give a metaphor for the death, that death is a kind of a shade which somehow covers the shine of life. So he is putting an emphasis that the eternity for something can spoil or can fade a physical entity, but it cannot fade a thing which is in soul, which is in spirit. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long live this, and this gives life thee. Now this couplet, line number 13 and 14, the couplet, it is changing everything. Here it is talking about, in the beginning, asking a rhetorical question, comparing the beauty or personality of his beloved with some summer, and then suddenly he personifies the features of summers, and in the couplet he is telling that so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long live this, and this gives life thee. Now here this and this stands for these lines, these creation, this creativity of the poet. As such, I mentioned before also that man is going to end a day. Everything on this earth, in this nature, has to be end, and there is a rule by nature that everything comes to an end. So what is the motivation for a person to be creative? What will be there for a person when the person is not physically there? The person can exist with some creativity, with some art, with some poetry, with some creation, and that person can be recapitulated, reminded again and again to other people, even though physically that person is not alive. So here the intention of the poet Shakespeare is trying to persuade his beloved. Actually it is just a sonnet, and this part just is a kind of a motivation for his beloved, so that they can he can understand why he is trying to make himself remarkable through his lines of poetry. He is not addressing to his beloved, actually he is addressing to his dear friend with whom he is in love with, Shakespeare. So here Shakespeare is addressing to his friend. he is telling him that your beauty, your all good things will come to an end when you are physically not there on this earth. You will die, everything will die, your beauty, your empire, everything will die, everything will fade out. But my poetry will help you to exist even after you are not alive. So he is persuading him that my poetry is more powerful than any other thing which can make you more beautiful. So that's all about Shakespeare's this Sonnet 18. Hope the concept has been clear to you. Thank you.